Well, Firestorm won't be available until March, but there sure was a shitstorm this past week as DICE rolled out a hotfix that completely altered the gunplay in Battlefield 5 with a longer time to kill, making some weapons like the 10 magazine Gewehr 43 need 4 bullets to kill instead of 3, and SMGs being a recalculous 9 bullets to kill at certain ranges. Although most people in the community have been vocal about the time to kill being in the right place, most are complaining about dying too fast, even though it's just like Married with Children's theme song, you can't have one without the other. So you need to tell me that people like being able to kill people fast but don't like it so much when they're the ones on the other end of dying quickly. You don't say. Thank you very much there, Captain fucking Obvious. Well, yesterday DICE announced that they're now reverting the slower time to kill changes that lasted only slightly longer than Fortnite's Infinity Blade, so gone are the core playlists, which split the player base in a game that discarded the premium model precisely because of that. Although players are rejoicing that DICE finally pulled their head out of their collective asses, and for the record, I'm on the side of the faster time to kill being good for the game, this fiasco leaves me with more questions than answers and doubts now that the game is staying the same. I understand why DICE chose to make the slower time to kill as the default with the old faster time to kill relegated to a new core version of the playlist, because more people just select the first option when being presented with multiple choices and or take the default option. Thus, this way they're collecting more data with the new fix versus getting a smaller sample size if it was the other way around. However, this type of update, which was done in a hotfix, mind you, not even a patch that alerted an end user of a download that signals a change to the game, should be reserved for a test server instead of disrupting the entire game for a whole week at a time. Hey, wait a second. Doesn't DICE have something like that? Oh yeah, the CTE. I know that the CTE is a subset of players, and they're mostly a more tuned-in, hardcore audience that are already on things like forums and Reddit to voice their opinions. However, that is the purpose of a test server, to test out new ideas. Additionally, if it was good enough to test out patches and DLC in Battlefield 1, then it should be good enough to test out changes for Battlefield 5, right? The problem is that currently there is no CTE for Battlefield 5 because even though the release date was pushed back by about a month, the game probably released way too fucking soon with incomplete infrastructure to deal with having to make updates to the game. We saw this when the original Tides of War patch had to be pushed back because of bugs found at the 11th hour, and it rears its ugly head here once again with yet another backlash to a game that's been no stranger to controversy ever since it was revealed. Part of the reason for why perhaps DICE chose to not go the CTE route, even if there was one available, is because DICE wanted to make a change in order to solve two problems that they saw as linked together. They have the data that indicates that players are dying too quickly during gunfights, and they also have data that indicates that players aren't coming back to the game. Devs pointed to new players that were getting frustrated with being killed too fast, leading to more churn because shit buckets are going to play the game no matter what, while people that are new to the franchise aren't going to put up with this steeper learning curve than in Battlefield 1. This logic is flawed on many fronts, but the first of which is that even though there is data that says people are dying too fast and aren't coming back, the first rule of statistics is correlation does not equal causation, meaning just because two things are trending in the same or opposite directions somehow doesn't mean that one directly influences the other. The reason behind people not coming back could be super wide-ranging, including game-breaking bugs like games of Airborne or Frontlines not ever fucking ending, being revived into random states of purgatory, and no, the level 50 company coin thing isn't a deterrent to new players, you fucking douche canoes. Yes, I know it's annoying as shit, and it makes people stop playing because they stop earning shit, but new players aren't level 50s by definition, you absolute spoons. Rant aside, there's also the short list of content to go with the long list of bugs, and with only 8 different maps and just a handful of weapons that aren't just ported over from Battlefield 1, that could cause players to drop like panties on prom night, or maybe the fact that DICE just took the exhibit approach to UI design. Yo dog, I heard you like menus, so I put menus underneath other sections of different trees of UI menus so that you could only access within the main menu, but not through the in-game menu, so you can't upgrade weapons or change assignments unless you're not actually playing the game, which is what people are starting to fucking do. It's no secret that this game was clearly rushed to get EA stock price back up from the shitter it's been plunged into. However, one can't help but think it's actually Battlefield 5's own fault for doing so, but there's tons of reasons why new players aren't coming back, including things like this game not being the World War II experience that everyone was anticipating would be, or maybe assignments being bugged the fuck out and people not getting their rewards, so that's why they're not continuing to play the game, or how the matchmaking sometimes puts you into empty fucking servers servers, or lack of custom servers, or hardcore mode on launch, or a plethora of the other things that are completely unrelated to players dying fast. Sure, there are definitely sometimes netcode bugs that leave people dead in what seems like one frame, but Call of Duty has already had, and for some reason with this release removed, a feature that showed how many times you were shot and by which players contributed to your death. I've seen concept art and many different videos on the death cards to indicate how much and where damage was dealt to you as a means from learning from your mistakes that would be much more useful as both a debugging and learning tool instead of completely overhauling the gunplay. That is the main reason why most people are still playing the game. Those that haven't been compelled to stay the fuck away from the game because of various controversies surrounding it, mind you. Which brings me to the final point of communication. I think that DICE has done a pretty decent job since launch of highlighting things going on with the game on Reddit with weekly roundups and other various posts. However, this Time to Kill change seemed to have Randy Orton come out of nowhere without a discussion on how or why it was being implemented in the first place. Some YouTubers latched onto a developer tweet from a few weeks ago that might have been a mistype, but there was no indication that this type of change would be going down overnight in a hotfix without a patch to completely overhaul how the game is played. This is unacceptable and just another example of DICE not being able to get out of its own fucking way. At least for this giant fuck up, we're getting the Rebby Rolls auto rifle for the assault class as a holiday present in spite of the fact that it's yet another weapon ported over from Battlefield 1, rarely used in World War II, but it was obviously still around at the time since it was used in World War I. Listen, I really like playing Battlefield 5, but it's getting harder and harder to defend this bullshit, and even worse to get people to play your game with me when there's a constant barrage of negativity that's mostly self-inflicted from stupid, idiotic decisions. I am glad, however, that unlike Treyarch, who can't get enough smell of their own shit by constantly updating the game to fit what they want instead of what the community wants, at least DICE here listened to the community feedback and made the right decision to the game, even if it gives them some egg on their face. Backpedaling is not just something that politicians should be able to do, game developers should take a note. Also, the community has to recognize that no shit, you don't like dying so quickly, but like how Christmas is supposed to be, you're happy to be on the giving end versus on the receiving one in terms of dealing damage, so quick deaths are gonna happen. However, they shouldn't be happening around corners, behind walls, and definitely not all in one frame unless it's a sniper rifle. You asked for faster time to kill, so you need to deal with all of the ramifications with that design decision, including how it feels to be on the other side of being shot. I've been the Schwans27, out like Carson Wentz. Until next time.